right, here he is, a true legend, not in just drumming, but also just in the world of rock in general. Carmine Appice is here. Carmine, thanks for coming on, man. How you doing?
No problem. I'm good. I've been doing these all day for the Cactus record, and I'm having fun. I enjoy doing these interviews,
Well, I got to tell you what a real honor and privilege it is to have you on here. You were actually the first ever rock star that I met when I was a kid.
Get out of here. Where was that?
You were doing like a signing and a clinic at a very small music store where I live alongside. It was you and Vinnie Moore from UFO.
Oh, that must have been, I'll tell you where that was, on the East Coast.
Yes, in Ohio.
Right, up in Ohio. Oh, wow. Because I kind of discovered Vinnie Moore on that little tour, because he had an album out. Nobody ever heard of him. And this was the only thing he had so far to promote his record. We did like 10 clinics together.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I know we started like in New Jersey and Philadelphia, and took it from there. We did 10 clinics. It was a lot of fun, and nobody knew who he was at the time.
Well,
right? Did you know Vinnie Moore at the time?
No, but I was only like 14, so.
So what?
I still have a poster of you, an autographed poster that I've had for years. Well, since that, framed up in the corner of the room here. I've had it forever, so it's great to have you on here.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here after all that.
And I want to get to the Cactus stuff, but first I was obviously, like I just alluded to, I'm a younger guy, but I was just watching a little bit ago the footage from the Ed Sullivan Show of you and Vanilla Fudge from back in 1968. I mean, it does have to be an incredible feeling, I would imagine, to be here 45 years later or whatever it's been, still doing all this.
I think it's like 50 years later, 57, 52,
yeah, something like that. Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, but, when I look at that video, I look at myself, I said, man, I was a freaking animal in that video. I was viciously attacking the drums, and the way no one at that point in time did. When people saw that, they was like, oh my God, this guy, what kind of drugs is he on? I remember seeing there was a couple of these shows, that review shows, where they take a song and they review it, and they look at the video, and they looked at that video, and one guy said, whatever that drummer's on, I want some, Well, how about pure energy? 20-year-old energy that, I'm on the Ed Sullivan Show, 50 million people watching. I better kick ass or, go home.
Sure.
So I looked at it, I kicked ass, and I realized that unintentionally I started this whole heavy rock drumming thing because there were loud amplifiers and nobody could hear the drums.
Yeah.
So I beat them harder. and got bigger drums, and out of necessity, not realizing I'm going to start something new in rock drumming. It was just by accident. Well, most good things start by accident,
100%, absolutely. Well, this brand new Cactus album called Temple of Blues, Influences and Friends, which comes out on June 7th, which, to my understanding, I guess, is essentially re-recordings of Cactus classics, but featuring a ton of well-known guests across every track, a majority of whom were heavily influenced by Cactus back in the original days of the band, including Ted Nugent, Steve Stevens, Joe Bonamassa, Rudy Sarzo, Dee Snider, and quite literally about a million others. How did this whole concept come about?
Well, funny enough, it wasn't my idea. Cleopatra Records is putting it out, and I know the owner of Cleopatra. I've done a lot of stuff with them, and he done a couple of 2 or 3 Cactus albums that actually make royalties. And he said, "You know what? How would it be? Can you put this together if we had a Cactus album that got all these people that Cactus influenced on it, and play all the old songs revamped with these new artists?" I said, yeah, I can do that. I mean, come on. I did that Guitar Zeus record a few years ago. I had every major guitar player on it, from Ted Nugent to Brian May to Yngwie Malmsteen to Slash to, everybody that's big. And I said, I can do that. So I said, okay, I'm going to do that. So how can I start this? Because I have my studio here. I can see it in the background, I think.
Yeah.
And you see that little studio? I got my drums in there. And I actually started this whole album with the drums, which is unusual. Usually you play to a track, like a demo track, and then you play the drums to it, and then you revamp everybody else. But since I didn't have anyone yet to play on the record, all I had was my band members of Cactus that we toured with in the last couple of years. So I basically started with the drums, you know? And by starting with the drums, it was an interesting new way to do it. And at first I would go like playing Parchment Farm first. So I'd start singing it to my head. I go, ba-da-da, and sitting over here in the Parchment Farm, you know, had a click on for it, so I had the right tempo. So I wanted it to be the same tempo as the original. I don't know if you play, but was a 247 beats per minute, which is pretty quick, you know.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I did that like that. I did the next one, one way or another. I did the same way. I said, you know what? There's got to be a better way to do this, because I can't really concentrate on my playing, because I'm concentrating on singing it for myself so I can play to it, you know. So then I said, let me try something. So I put the click down for the whole song, however long I thought the song was. And then I start at the beginning. I'll count 1, 2, like Evil. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bam, bam. Da 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 da, but down, da down, da down, da down, da down, down, bam, bam. You know, and then Long Way From Home, down, da down, da down. I did the whole song like that. And then I played to it. So now I had something to play to, and I didn't have to think about it.
Oh wow.
You know?
Yeah.
So I did the rest of the album like that. And then once I finished the drums, then I would send it to my singer, and Jim Stapley, who's all over the album, and he plays guitar, sings, and harmonica. So I sent it to him, and then he would put the rhythm guitar on it and sing it. And like Parchment Farm, he would sing it rhythm guitar, sing it, and play harmonica. All right, now we had that. Then we sent it to our bass player, who was James Caputo, and he would put the bass on it. So now I got like a demo. So we did that with all the songs. And then I started calling people. You know, I knew like Jim McCarty, original guitar player, wanted to play on Parchment Farm. And I knew Billy Sheehan wanted to play on it, because Billy Sheehan said, anything you need me for, since Tim Bogle was his total mentor, total. He said, anything you need me for that would involve, you know, the legend, you know, keeping Tim's legend, I'm there. So I called him. I said, you want to play Parchment Farm? He goes, I'd love to play it. So then we sent it to him. He replaced my bass player's bass with his bass. And then we sent it to Jim McCarty, our guitar player. So now we had everything. And then I did Joe Bonamassa's podcast, right? And we're talking, and he said, you know, when you were in Cactus, when you did Parchment Farm, you blew my brains out, just like that, he said it. I said, really? I said, well, thank you so much. I said, look, I'm doing this album at Cactus. You know, at the time, it was called Influences and Friends. So the fact that that song influenced you, would you want to play on it and do the solos? He said, yes. So now I had him locked in on his own podcast that he would have to do it. You know?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So it took a while, but we got him on it. And then, you know, like I'd call Ted and I'd say, look, what song would you want to play? So I want to play One Way or Another. I said, okay. I said, well, I already got on bass. I got Doug Pinnick from King's X. I knew they were Cactus fans. When I played with Blue Murder, we toured with Billy Squier, Blue Murder, and King's X. And when I walked on their bus, they were playing Cactus albums. So that was nice. They told me, man, we're big Cactus fans, big ones, you know. So I got him and Ty to commit to play on tracks. So I got Doug to play bass and sing One Way or Another. So it was me, Ted, Doug, did that track. And my singer played rhythm guitar on that track. And, you know, so I just went down the line with all the different songs. I called different people. With the song Let Me Swim, this is interesting. You know the song Eruption by by Van Halen.
Of course.
Well, it's not really a song. It's just a bunch of guitar stuff. That came from the beginning of our song called Let Me Swim, because they were big Cactus fans, right? So I said, well, let's extend that intro so it sounds a bit more like Eruption. So when I do interviews, I could talk about it like I'm doing now, but I need somebody great to play all the guitar parts. So I thought about it. I said, Doug Aldrich, he can play that stuff.
Yeah.
So I called Doug and I told him about it. And he says, I'm a Cactus fan. I know the song. I said, wow. So when I gave it to him, I said, we're extending the intro so it could be similar to Eruption. So just do your thing there. So he did his thing. And did you hear the whole album?
I have not. I have a link to it, but I only had a chance to hear a couple songs so far.
Okay. All right. Well, listen to Let Me Swim. Listen to how amazing Doug is at the beginning. You know, because that was our thing. We hit the beat chord, went Brown, Jim McCarty would do guitar thing. Then we went bam, bam, down. Then he did more guitar thing and ended. Now, Van Halen just extended it. Hit the first chord, they did all that guitar stuff. Then he was done, he went bam, bam, bam. Then he did more guitar stuff. Well, I heard it, I said, actually, I didn't know it. I never really listened to the first album with Van Halen that much. So I never really noticed that. At the time, I was with Rod Stewart, and I wasn't listening to that kind of stuff. And when I first heard it, I go, "Oh my God, that's the beginning of Swim," you know.
Yeah.
And you know, and Alex told me the song "Hot for Teacher." They got that concept of the tempo and the double bass drum and everything from our song called Parchment Farm. So that was like the template from Parchment Farm was a template to Hot for Teacher. And they were big Cactus fans. When I talked to Eddie, I said, we're putting Vanilla Fudge in back together. He goes, man, F that, put Cactus back together. That was Eddie telling me that, you know. So we were friends, and you know, I didn't realize how much of influence we were on them. And then when it was Family, there was a second part of the solo was the same solo that we did in the second part of Evil.
Oh,
you know?
no kidding. Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, they were influenced. They were fans of us when they were growing up. I got tapes of them playing Cactus songs, you know, before they became Van Halen, the giant artist, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
So, you know, so I had to like figure out who would play what. A song called Alaska, which is the blues. I thought Tony Franklin would play bass on that, really great. He has the fretless bass, which is like an old sounding fretless bass. And I got my friend Johnny A to play that. And he's a blues guy, you know, and my singer sang that. And then there was a song called Guiltless Glider, which wasn't a big song for Cactus, but it was a really cool song, you know. And so I was doing a thing with Phil Soussan. I plays with my brother in Last in Line, and, you know, I played with Ozzy and Billy Idol. And I said, why don't you play this song? Because I did these other tracks with him. I realized he was a tremendous bass player. Because really, when he played with my brother and played with Ozzy, you know, he didn't realize how good he was. But when I did this other song with me, him, Paul Shortino, and this German guitar player, I said to him, man, you are a freaking great bass player. I'd never know it. So I asked him to play on that one because it's really like a progressive kind of song. So he did. And then once we played that, I said, okay, who should I get to play guitar on that? Who could play these guitar parts like Jim McCarty played with a special thing called the Scrambler? So I thought of Bumblefoot. I said, he's got that fretless guitar and he can get way up on it with these really cool sounds. So I called him. He was into doing it. So we did my singer, me, and Bumblefoot. We played on it. I got a little drum solo in that one. But it goes through all these changes, you know, to 6/8 timing from 4/4, and there's some cool drum fills at the end. Then it goes into a vamp that Bumblefoot really gets down on it, you know. And my singer played it, sang it. So then I did something with Nico McBrain at his. He has in Florida. He has a rib joint down here.
Yeah, I've heard of
and
that.
Every year, and every year he does an anniversary show that I played on the last couple of years. First year I played on it, I met Ripper Owens from
Judas Priest.
Judas Priest. Yeah. So I talked to him and I said, you know, I'm doing this Cactus thing. Would you want to sing on it? He goes, yeah, I'd love to sing on it. So I started thinking, what's the heaviest track lyrically and weird, heavy? I thought Skilless Glider, but I already had my singer on it. So I said, you know what? I'm going to have him do it anyway, and we'll use it as a bonus track. So I had him do it, and he did such a cool job, so different than the original, so different than my singer from Cactus did, that I said, oh, we definitely have to include this. This is amazing, you know? So this is how everything happened, you know? It was one by one, song by song, you know? And eventually we got 14 songs. And again, I started it all with the drums.
Was there anybody that you wanted to appear on this record, but you know, they weren't able to make it work due to scheduling or decline or anything?
Yeah, there was Derek St. Holmes. I wanted on it. He couldn't do it. I wanted Steve Moss on it because I love his playing. He did my Guitar Zeus album. He was tremendous. But unfortunately, for health reasons, his wife she just passed away.
Oh, wow.
You know, he didn't want to do anything. He just wanted to stay home and just be with her all the time. And now she passed away a few months ago. And now I just saw him with Dixie Drex, and he was amazing. The band was amazing, you know. But he left Deep Purple for that reason.
That's right. I do remember reading that now. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned earlier Jim McCarty is also on this record, but you guys have Cactus has a handful of shows coming up, but Jim's not going to be performing at the shows, right?
No.
He retired from touring, I believe.
Yeah, he retired from touring, and Rusty's dead, and Tim's dead. So I'm the last man standing, like I was with BBA. I'm the last man standing again, you know. But you know, I mean, I can go out and do like a BBA tour, you know, and tribute to Jeff and Tim with some great players, but I don't want to do that. But Cactus, I've been doing. Jim played with Cactus, Tim played with Cactus. And then little by little, Tim bowed out. Me and Jim still did it. And we got another bass player, a couple of bass players. And then when Jim bowed out, I got this one guitar player was tremendous. Then he got sick, and then he bowed out. And I got Bobby Rondinelli's brother, Teddy. He did a tour, but that didn't work out. And now I got this guy named Artie Dillon that played on the album. He played in Can't Judge a Book. That's the new Cactus band with the singer, the bass player, James Caputo, who's been with us for a while. So I'm continuing, but now James couldn't make the first 3 gigs because he's a tech for Blondie, and they're in Australia.
Oh.
Right. So I said, well, who am I going to get? So I said, I'm going to call Tony Franklin. Right. And Tony's like my brother. And he replaced, I think it was Tim Bogut when Tim couldn't make some shows in South America. So I called Tony. I said, you still got those notes for Cactus? Because every time he does something, he writes out notes. He writes out musical notes and stuff. I knew he would. And he said, yeah, I do. I said, good, because I want you to do these shows with us. He said, okay, when are they? He's available. Everything was good. So we're going to come down to Florida, rehearse one day with Tony. And same thing with my singer. The new singer couldn't make it. So there's another guy that I knew that was fantastic singer. I just met with him again yesterday. He's great. So it's kind of a new energy Cactus band with the guitar player that's on the album. But I know it's going to kick ass because you know what? The Cactus music kicks ass. No matter who plays it, it kicks ass. You know, I've had that through the years. I've seen different bass players, different guitar players, different singers. And no matter where we went with Cactus and played Cactus material, it kicks ass. So the first gig we're doing is with Foghat. Second gig is with us in Boca Raton. And the third gig is back with Foghat and Pat Travers. So
and Pat Travers is on this new album, right?
Yeah, he's on the album. He's like my other brother. You know, we did gigs together when we had our Travis Appice records. I don't know if you ever heard those, but those are kick-ass records. And we did a portion of Evil Either, also, I should say. You know, I'm getting all mixed up with these names and everything. You know,
there's so many of them.
Yeah, there's so many. So me, Tony Franklin, and Pat Travers. We toured Europe with Evil, doing Evil, and we called it TNA,
Yeah.
which means something else, but it's Travis and Appice, And we did 2 albums with Pat, and I love Pat. I hooked him up with the manages Cactus and Vanilla Fudge, and he's helped his career quite a bit. So we're still good brothers, So when I called him, he said, "Well, what do you want me to play?" I go, "I want you to play on the boogie." I said, "I just want you to play slide on the acoustic boogie and harmonica part and the vocal. And then when we kick in with me and the bass player, I want you to just play Pat. No rhythm guitar, just the 3 of us." He said, "Okay." So I sent him the track. He loved it. And he was a Cactus fan also. So, yeah, we got him. And he's a great player, man. He's so soulful, so bluesy and soulful.
Will is he going to come out during your guys' set at that show and play with you guys?
Probably, and I'll probably go out in his set, because I used to, when we went out and toured together, I did, his songs, and so whenever he plays somewhere where I am, I usually go up and do that, what's that, bang, 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 out goes the lights,
Oh, okay, yeah.
Boom, 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 out goes the lights. I usually play that with him. And then he can come on, and we did the tours with Cactus. He played the boogie with us, so that's why I figured it'd be good for him to do. So that one gig, we'll probably do that. And then Foghat has to follow that.
Well, they are at these other shows. Is there any plans to have any of the other guests from the album come out and play with you guys?
Yes, I think in August when we play in the Michigan area, Ted said, "Whenever you're playing 100 miles of where I am, just call me. I'll be there."
Oh, that'll be cool.
I said, "Fine, that's good." So Ted knows Cactus. From half of Cactus was from Detroit, and half of Cactus was from New York, and the other half was our manager, managed Ted back in the day.
Oh,
so we know Ted from 1967. And we're good friends. And Ted was such a big act, and he's saying on the quote on the album, he was honored to be. Man, that's, for me, that hits my heart.
Yeah,
because
no kidding.
Because he's done so many great things, and he's honored to still play in the band with Cactus with me. It made me feel great.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask you about Cactus is, obviously the band is hugely influential on many, many musicians and bands that are now household names. But, Cactus itself never had a huge mainstream audience. And, obviously you yourself are a legendary drummer and highly regarded figure. But is it ever frustrating, or at least, at the time of the original Cactus, that, the band is so influential to all these other bands that we're really able to take off and have these explosive careers like Van Halen, like we've been talking about, but Cactus never quite caught on like a lot of the bands that were influenced by Cactus?
Yeah, well, we didn't know that until later, you know?
Sure.
Because the original band was going to have Jeff Beck and Rod Stewart in it, and Rod didn't want to work with Jeff, and then Jeff had a car accident. We had broken up Vanilla Fudge, and we said, well, let's just put something together. So we put it together. And it did well. I mean, we go to London and draw 3,000 people, and Memphis 5,000, LA like 3,000. So we had a following. We did thousands of people, and the records didn't do us justice, record sale wise. We'd always go to top 30, and that's it. We never had gold records, but we played with all the greats. We played with Hendrix, we played with Rod and the Faces, we played with different people, Uriah Heep. We even did Badfinger and Cactus, Oh,
wow.
And we did a lot of great shows, historical. It's all in my book. My book, Stick It, my Life of Sex, Drums, and Rock and Roll, And the book did pretty well, and all the stories are in there about all these different bands. But, Cactus was, like I said, we were already broken up when all these bands got big. But I tell you, the real story was Vanilla Fudge. Is we had Led Zeppelin open up for us.
That's just insane. Wow.
Okay. And Led Zeppelin, we paid half their fee on the first gig because the promoter didn't want them on because we were sold out. And they said, we don't need them. So the agent was the same agent and said, look, I'll tell you what, you pay half and Vanilla Fudge you pay half. And he agreed to that. And they got booed off the stage that first gig, but we paid half their fee. And then we went on to play another half a dozen shows with them, leading into the beginning of first gig was December 26, 1968. And then, we were heading towards 69. We had already played on the Ed Sullivan Show. We were big. We were selling out 8,000 people, 6,000 people, and they opened up for us. And after that first gig, they had names like Lem Zeppelin, people on the posters, nobody knew who they were.
Yeah.
But 6 months later, I got John Bonham his sponsorship with Ludwig Drums, and their first album came out and just kicked butt. It went platinum. Now they're as big as we were, And then after the gig in '69, when Bonzo told me that Jeff Beck wanted to play with us, because the billing on that was 10 years after. No, Edwin Hawkins Singers, that song "Oh Happy Day." And then 10 years after, then Jeff Beck Group, and then Vanilla Fudge. I mean, come on, look what we had to follow. And then Zeppelin went up and jammed with Jeff Beck Group before we went on. Now, how could you follow that?
Yeah, no kidding.
And then John Bonham came to the back and said, look, Jeff Beck wants you to play with him. Here's his number. And that's what started the whole, we're going to work with Jeff. So at the time, and then eventually, right after that, it was like by the end of that year, we were putting the plans together to do with Jeff Beck, and we broke Vanilla Fudge up. And then Jeff got in the accident, and 18 months until he was going to be back playing again. And we said, oh, come on, man. What are we going to do for 18 months? We just broke up Vanilla Fudge, and we were, still big. We had tours to Japan and Europe. We blew out with really good money. And so we said, well, let's put something else together. We had the name Cactus. We were going to call it Cactus. And I saw that playing with the Fudge, driving in Arizona, big letters on the top of the driver, and said Cactus. I said, wow, that's a good name for a band, And we all agreed with Jeff and we were going to call it Cactus. And then the rest is history,
But then, of course,
so that was the one that that's the one that gets you in the belt. You know?
Well, yeah. And
Led Zeppelin became the biggest band in the world.
And when you played with them, when they were opening for you, I mean, was it very apparent at the time that they were going to go on to become this huge thing that they did end up becoming?
Well, let's put it this way. When Vanilla Fudge used to play with anyone we played with, we would blow them off, right? And we always just say, who's going to blow us off? Eventually, in that 69 tour, 6 months later, it was them. Right? So we thought they were already big. They're as big as we were. And they just released the second album. That thing went to #1. So we knew they were going past us. But we had a good time with them. They were good friends of ours, and I remember walking along saying to Robert Plant he should move around more. Think about that, right? And it's stuff like that. But it was great times. I mean, I remember one time on those shows, it was, I think, how many more times it was Jimmy and Robert would do that thing with the violin and the vocal,
Oh, okay,
back and forth. And Bonzo and John Paul Jones would come off the stage, and Bonzo said to me, hey, why don't you, Tim, go on instead of me and John and finish the song? And you guys know the song. I go, yeah, we know the song. So we did. So we went up and started the thing after Ready to Go. We started playing it. So Robert Plant singing, looks around and sees us, me and Tim, goes over the page and elbows Page and like, look over there. So Page looked over. They both said, okay, and they continued the song, and we ended it. And then we went on after them on that one. We alternate billing because they were so big. And then we went on and we played our song Shotgun, and they came up and jammed with us on Shotgun. But those were the good old days,
Yeah.
That stuff used to happen. It wasn't a business yet,
That's
then it turned into a business.
And
I mean,
it's always corporations, and when things get corporate,
yeah, I
that
mean,
shit gets ruined.
if Zeppelin got together now and played a show, it would be like $15,000 for the front seat.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Absolutely. Yeah. It would be
I mean,
insane.
look at the Kiss. They got 13 grand for front row seats on the last show, supposedly. I don't know if you've seen this. It was the Bon Jovi documentary. Did you look at it yet? It's on Netflix.
I've seen the first episode. I need to finish the rest.
You got to. It's really sad because everyone knows he lost his voice.
Yeah.
And he can't do that anymore. And they were at the peak all over the world, stadiums, 2 or 3 nights at stadiums, much bigger than any band, maybe Springsteen, but for me, Bon Jovi was a kick-ass rock band. They were good. Richie Sambora was great. John was a great frontman. That kind of energy that I love.
Yeah.
But now, what a drag. I mean, he's like, was he 17 years younger than I am, and he's got to stop his career. That's sad. That's freaking sad.
It is. How do you keep it going? I mean, I was going to ask you this a little later on, but since you brought it up, I mean, you're, I think, 77 years old, which you look incredible. But, I mean, how do you I can't even believe that you have the energy to even want to go out there and tour, I mean, most bands, they start getting up there, they're like, fuck that. I'm just going to stay home.
One answer is I don't tour. I do 3 gigs and come home.
Sort of like flying type
I'll
of
do
situation.
I'll do 4 gigs and come home. And there's some driving. Did I lose you? No. There's some driving, but it's not like, like we get a tour bus, you drive overnight. All the gigs like 150 miles within each other. So we get a Sprinter van, and there's plenty of room in the Sprinter van. And, we got 2 roadies, and we don't drive, and we hang out. We listen to music in the van or watch the news or, talk and BS each other, have some laughs, and, sing some harmonies. Like we just did a 4-show Vanilla Fudge show, 4 in a row. We're all sold out, and we had a Sprinter van, and it was fun. Are you there? Did I lose you?
Nope.
Oh, okay. And it was fun. So now these Cactus gigs, everyone's going to come down to Florida. They're going to stay in my house. Tony, my roadie, who's been a roadie for a long time, Tony and Artie, the guitar player, and the singer lives down here. So we're going to get together. We're going to rehearse one day, rehearse one night, softly in my studio. Then we're going to go into rehearsal place the next day and rehearse. And then on the morning of the first gig, we're going to leave about 9:30 and drive up to Clearwater. We have my roadie's got a big pickup truck with a trailer, and my manager rented a minivan. So we're going to have 3 people in each vehicle, and we're going to drive up there, and we'll play the first gig. We'll stay that night, then drive to the second gig, stay that night, drive to the third gig, and then we stay that night. And then me, the singer, and one of the roadies drives home to Florida. So it's like 4 days, 3 days. And that's easy.
Sure.
When I have another show, it's called the Tonight's the Night, a True Rod Experience, where I play with this guy that looks exactly like Rod, sings exactly like Rod, got all of Rod's moves. He's been doing this for 20 years. He draws big crowds. And I went and see him one night. I jammed with him. The audience went crazy when I came up because I played all the songs that I played with Rod.
Yeah.
And then he said to me, we should join forces. I said, yeah, that'd be fun because I never get to play those songs anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, Hot Legs. I mean, what was the most dominant thing on Hot Legs? The drums, right? I co-wrote Do You Think I'm Sexy? I never get to play that. I don't play it like the record. I play it with more energy and more drum fills. You play Young Turks. I never really got to play that. The song Passion, really soulful songs, good songs. You're in my heart. I wrote all the background harmonies on that stuff. Just a lot of those songs. I never get to play them. and I enjoy playing them. I enjoy playing everything. I'm not just like heavy metal, you know.
Sure.
You know, I play with Ozzy, I play with Rod, I play with Ted, I play with Blue Murder, King Cobra, Vanilla Fudge, Cactus. It's all different. Ted Nugent. It's all different kinds of music, but it's all basically hard rock. You know, when I play with Rod, it was hard rock.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Ted Nugent saw me play with Rod, and he said, "Hey, when you're done playing this wimpy music," he said, "and you want to play a man's rock, come and give me a call." So I did. When I left Rod, I went with Ted. And Ted, I went and had with Rick Derringer. We had a record called DNA, you know, Derringer and Appice. It was hard rock. It was on MTV and medium rotation. The first video I ever did on my own. I did videos with Rod, but it was all hard rock. You know, my thing with Pat Travis, hard rock, you know. But I don't know when it became heavy metal, like Black Sabbath worked with Cactus. You know, we opened up for Black Sabbath, and Steel Mill was the first band. That was what's his name? Bruce Springsteen was in Steel Mill.
Oh, no kidding.
Right? So,
Wow.
yeah, Bruce Springsteen and Steel Mill, me and Tim with Cactus and the original Cactus and Black Sabbath. And we all sounded the same. We all had stacks of Marshalls, you know?
Yeah.
And we all sounded the same. It was hard rock, you know? Led Zeppelin was hard rock. Deep Purple was hard rock. When did it all become heavy metal?
So do you not like the term heavy metal then?
I don't mind the term heavy metal, but it's really hard rock.
Yeah.
What I consider heavy metal is Metallica onward.
Sure. I would agree 100% with that.
Because their guitars sound like buzzsaws.
Yeah.
You know, and all these new bands that got those vocals, you know.
Are you
I
into
consider
any
that
of that?
heavy metal.
Are you into any of that kind of stuff? Do you like the heavier side of music or not really?
I don't know them. I don't know any of them. You know, if I went to see was it Papa Roach.
Oh.
Right? They were with Shinedown.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, I heard a song by Shinedown. I never really listened to Papa Roach. Freaking love Papa Roach. They were awesome.
They're a great band. I've seen them a bunch.
I mean, they were heavy, hard rock.
Yeah. 100%.
But they called heavy metal, right?
Well, I would not consider Papa Roach a heavy metal band, but I'm sure some people would.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not like pop.
Sure.
You know, nobody uses the term hard rock anymore. Right. Anything that's hard, they call them heavy metal.
Yeah.
I mean, Shinedown was heavy metal. What? That's not heavy metal.
Not at all. Yeah.
No, you know. So to me, I don't even know. Give me a heavy metal band. Give me one that I might know.
Slipknot.
Okay, I know Slipknot. Heavy metal.
Do you get into that? Like, I mean, especially, I would imagine being a drummer, and that band is so percussion focused.
I like the drum. I like their drummer now. He's a friend of mine. You know. Oh no, not Slipknot. The other one. They wear the mask. Slipknot. They what's his name? That was what's his name from his son from
Jay Weinberg?
Bruce Springsteen's band. Yes.
Yeah.
His son from his father.
Yeah, Max. Yeah.
Max. Yeah, Max, who's a friend of mine. Yeah. As you get to 77, you forget these names, you know?
Sure.
Yeah,
but
so I know Max. His son, he's a killer drummer. You know who else is a killer drummer? Ringo's son playing with The Who. Killer drummer. You know?
Yeah.
And the guy, the other one that my friend plays with, I can't even remember his name right now. They're like Slipknot, but they're not the other. Come on. Anyway, it's the kind of music Slipknot. You know, I know them. Yeah, but they sing, don't they? See, they do some singing.
There is a little bit of clean singing. Yeah.
Like, do you consider Dream Theater heavy metal?
I don't think so. I mean, they have
people call them heavy metal.
Yeah, I don't think I would. I mean, they're more progressive.
Yeah,
And they're almost
progressive hard rock,
like a modern Rush almost, in my opinion.
Yeah, but even so, I mean, it all started, like Vanilla Fudge was considered progressive rock back in the day when it was progressive, because we had things in time signatures. All our songs have the long arrangements, they all different changes. I mean, this is what people told me. I mean, not me saying it, but anyway, I would call it progressive hard rock, Dream Theater.
Yeah.
But people call it heavy metal. Like, it's not heavy metal. Van Halen wasn't heavy metal.
No, not at all. Yeah.
But it's all in. Rush wasn't heavy metal.
Yeah.
But they're all putting that same thing.
Sure.
But to me, so for me, I play everything. I play Rod Stewart. And that was the point it came from. So I do these shows with this Rod show called Tonight's the Night, a True Rod Experience. And we even got the sax player, a girl that played with Rod for 14 years.
Oh, wow.
So there's a bit of, we try and call it a hybrid tribute show because it is a tribute to Rod. And I love Rod, and he deserved tributes. He's an amazing, when I played with him, he was the best front man ever. He was much better than anybody. He had the greatest voice, the most unique voice that everybody copied, And, now he's older than I am, and he's got a stage show. It's a Vegas show. He's got 5 young, beautiful chicks with him, which I think make him look older,
Are you still in touch with him? Do you still talk to him?
Yeah, I talk. Not a lot. I talk. Like when I went up to see that show with this Rod guy and the catcher, who's the sax player, was there. We all took a picture, and we emailed to him. He said, "Oh man, not with the Rod guy." And he said, "Oh, it's great to see 2 of my old friends together." Because in 1970, when he was 70, I went to his birthday party, and he said, "I consider everybody here my best friends or family." So that was nice. And then when I had my book come out, he wrote the introduction to my book. And then he said, "I fired Carmine. F knows why, because he's everything, like a rock star is, And coming from him, it's a great compliment. We used to hang out together on the road. Like at one time we got in a limo. This has nothing to do with Cactus, but we got in a limo together, just me and him. He said, "Man, it's a drag being a legend. It's 1978. I already played with Cactus, Vanilla Fudge, and BBA. And then I was playing with him. He goes, 'It's a drag being a legend.' I said, 'Yeah, I know what you mean.' He looks at me and goes, 'Yeah, you're right. Me and you are the only ones that could be legends in this band.'" And, it's good. He's a nice guy, a good guy. But he lives in a different world of rock. It's Sir Rod now.
Sure.
He just sold his catalog for $100 million. He don't travel on planes. I mean, when my guy that does the rock show travels on planes, he travels business class. Everybody thinks he's Rod.
Wow, I got to see a picture of this guy. Does he really look that much like him? Wow.
He looks like Rod. I'm telling you, he looks like Rod. His name is, just put in tonightstonight.com and you'll see what he looks like. But not only he looks like, he sounds like him. And the guy that told him to do this was Joe Walsh.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah, Joe Walsh said, "Man," he said, had like a Rodish kind of haircut, but not all the way. And he said, "Man, you sound like Rod Stewart. You look a bit like him." He said, "You should do a tribute to Rod. You'd make a lot of money doing that." That's what Joe told him. And then the same kind of thing was said to him by John Entwistle,
How
so
often
eventually
do you guys...
I'm going to get Rod to give us a thing like that,
How often do you guys play the Rod tribute?
Well, right now we just started with me. Eventually I have a stage set that goes with this thing. It's a white stage. It's my drums with the gong. We have a video backing, with all the story of Rod and, different things about Rod and the band when I was with, different things when Catcher was in it, and he kicks out soccer balls like Rod does. We put balloons. We put balloons all over the stage. We shoot out confetti. We make it a party.
Yeah.
When I was with Rod, it was a party. And that's what this is. So we got gigs like we do one on the 11th in Florida, another one in on the 19th in Mississippi. Then another one August 4th, August 10th, August 19th. You know, we fly, we come home. You know, and then there's a few that are in a row. You know, we got some in February. We're playing in January in Palm Springs in a theater with a 60-piece orchestra.
Oh, wow.
Playing rock stuff. You know, I mean,
that'll be incredible.
To me, this is all fun stuff, you know?
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, and when I went to see Rod, you know, I did 12 songs. 8 out of the 12 songs were songs that I was involved in. And I'm watching the people going crazy over it. And I said, you know what? I miss playing these songs. I never get to play them anymore because they were Rod Stewart songs. But by playing in a Rod Stewart show, I get to play them again. You know?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So you say, yeah, I'm 77. I look good. Yeah, I take care of myself. But you know what? My wife does a podcast called A Life Story, and she interviews people over 85 who have done amazing things, like the guy that created the cell phone. You know, the guy that had, you remember the Chatterbox toy? The guy that created that.
No kidding.
Just different people. And she came up with the thing that makes them live a long life is purpose.
Yeah,
Purpose.
That makes sense. Yeah.
When people stop doing what they love, you know, things go wrong and, you know, they're not happy. You know, I'm happy as hell living in Florida, having a studio, doing albums like this Cactus album, doing this instrumental albums I did.
Well, a couple. I know we're getting close to running out of time here, but a couple things I did want to ask you before we wrap it up. Unrelated to Cactus, you recently sort of reactivated King Kobra, putting out "We Are Warriors" last year, and adding Rowan Robertson and the great Carlos Cavazo to the lineup a few years ago. Is there any plans to do anything else with King Kobra in the immediate future? Or?
You know, King Cobra's like Cactus of the 80s. Of the heavy metal, which to me is hard rock. It never really made it big enough to warrant, you know, doing like 8, 9, 10,000 people in arenas. So when we did this album, Mick and Dave didn't even want to do it. They said, why bother to do it? Nobody hears it. You know, it doesn't sell anything. And you can't tour with it because unless you do a giant festival like we did Sweden Rock a few years ago, and we got a live album out of it. But I got to admit, the people that were there, there's like 8,000, 9,000 people that saw it, they loved it. But you can't just, you know, you can't tour with it where there's no money.
Sure.
You know, not at our age. We were going to do 3 shows. It was going to be 2 shows. It was going to, well, we needed a 3rd show. I never got it. We were going to do Vegas and rehearse in Vegas and do Vamped, you know, the club Vamped.
Counts, it's owned by Danny Coker from
Danny. We know Danny well. He sang on the last album, Have a Good Time. Danny, we sang on it in the video and stuff. And, you know, we were going to do that. They were going to pay us okay money, but we had to use the money to get everybody out there to rehearse and then get the gear. My gear is in LA. So the roadie would have to drive to Vegas, rent a vehicle, play in Vegas, and drive back to LA. And with the prices of gas out there, and then play the whiskey for okay money, and they get hotels and everything, we would have made $200 a piece. I can't call Carlos, hey, Carlos, let's do this gig. You're going to make $200. And then the other, Rowan didn't want to work with Paul for some reason. I don't know why, you know, so we didn't do anything. And nobody heard the record. It was a great record, I thought.
I listened to it today.
Yeah.
I agree. I thought it was great.
And I had the same guy mix that record that mixed my, I don't know if you ever heard my instrumental record called, it was a Peace Perdomo project. You know, I had Billy Sheehan on it, had Derek Serenian on it, Bumblefoot on it. And there was some great instrumental tracks on there, you know, but nobody ever heard it. There's a video called Drum City. I do artwork. I do some artwork, and I make cities out of drums. You know, I make drums. Then my friend Ed Hecht, who is a really great artist, he always made like cartoon drawings. So we put us both together, and I made the cartoon drawings of drums and cities and stuff, and he would colorize them, make the colors.
Oh, that's really
So
cool.
there was one called Drum City, right? And we wrote a song on this instrumental album called Drum City. You know, we started it with the drums, and my partner Fernando played drums on it. I mean, played guitar and bass on it, and I played drums and gave him just the drums first, you know? And so when we did the video, you know, we used green screen, and we were going to use Drum City's artwork as the background, you know?
Yeah.
So the guy I was editing, he said, if you want, for a few $100 more, I could animate it all. I said, wow, you got it. So we animated it. What a killer video, you know?
I got to check this out, yeah.
Check it out. It's called Drum City by Appice Perdomo Project, or just Carmine Appice. And, you know, we had things that are in the video would be animated, like little cars that I drew were driving. There was a bridge. The cars were going over the bridge. Even the guitar player was walking over the bridge, and the hi-hat, you know, from the drawing ended up being flying saucers all around. It was freaking wild, you know. Like even my older brother said, I just found that video called Drum City. It's amazing. I said, yeah, it is amazing. He goes, why don't you put it on the internet and make it go viral? I said, if I knew how to make it go viral, I would.
Yeah, if there was a formula to it, everybody would do it.
Yeah, I don't know what the formula is. The same thing as these bands that are making it today. I don't know what their formula is, but I never heard of them.
Yeah.
You know, because there's no radio anymore, you know.
Of course.
But that's why, you know, King Kobra didn't tour. That's why the original members, the first two albums we did, all original members with Paul Scioltino replacing Mark Free, who is now a woman, you know.
Oh, I did not know that. Wow.
You didn't know that?
Not that I recall.
Oh, yeah, that happened in 1995.
Oh, geez.
You know, we had broken up because everybody went different ways, you know, and Mark Free turned into Marcy Free, which I couldn't believe. But before, he sang very soft kind of rock, like on the B side of the A side of Thrill of a Lifetime album. That was the label making us do that. You know, they said, if you don't do that, we're going to drop you.
Oh, wow.
So we said, all right, well, we'll do it. Didn't help.
Yeah.
You know, didn't help. I did all right. King Cobra's like Cactus. We did the same thing like Cactus. We drew a couple of thousand people there, a couple of hundred, you know, 500, 800, 1,000, you know, but it never was like Poison, who they opened up for us. And they kind of copied our image a little bit with the blonde hair and shit, you know. And then they got huge. Talk about another one, you know.
Well, and I was watching somewhere else. You were saying that Bullet Boys kind of stole some King Kobra songs.
Yeah, they sold. I don't remember which ones it was, but
one of them was "Smooth Up In Ya," right? Their biggest hit, "Smooth Up In Ya."
Yeah, it might have been that. I'm not sure. I know "For the Love of Money" was my idea to do with King Kobra, and we were working it up, and we were rehearsing at the same time. We were rehearsing in the same place where Anthrax, Megadeth, Metallica, before they got big, we all rehearsed in this one big warehouse that had separate rooms for everybody. And then next thing we know is we had the next generation of King Kobra, Lonnie Vincent, who I named Lonnie Vincent because his name was Lonnie Miller, and my manager's name was Lonnie Miller, Alan Miller. And I said, dude, you can't have the same name as a freaking manager. Let's change it to another name. What's your middle name? He said, Vincent. I go, good, let's be Lonnie Vincent. So he was Lonnie Vincent, and Mark Tureen was in it, and Mick from King Kobra. And I don't know how they were doing it, but as we were rehearsing, they got a deal with this band called Bullet Boys, you know, and the guy that got them the deal was the merchandiser from King Kobra.
Oh,
you know,
so, yeah.
So I was really pissed at them for doing all that with all, you know, it was my guys, the merchandiser for me, you know, and taking For Love and Money, my idea and a couple of the other ideas, there's a song called Kissin' Kitty, which we were doing with King Cobra. Mick started the song, but we worked on it, But they knew I was pissed. So for one of my birthday parties, they came and they gave me a gold album of Bullet Boys.
I'm sure you would have rather have the royalties instead of a gold record.
Yeah, I would have rather had King Cobra do it,
Sure.
But I don't hold grudges, That's why I invited Mick to the reunion of King Cobra and Dave, and it was great. The vibe was great. Johnny Rod was in it. He was great. And Johnny Rod is now in jail, so we couldn't play again anyway.
Yeah.
He was always into cocaine and always got fucked up, So a lot of history there, a lot of crazy stories.
Well, yeah, there's so much that I had here that we didn't even get to. So I'd love to have you back on again, and we can cover even more ground. But I guess one thing before we wrap this up, did Nikki Sixx ever hit you back on your offer to jam with him?
No. And that whole thing was so messed up because, I didn't mean to do anything.
Yeah.
When I was doing an interview about the BBA record that was coming out, the guy said, "What do you think about this? Why do you think Mick left?" So I just told him what Mick told me.
Yeah.
Mick didn't say, "Don't say anything."
Right.
I just told him, what started that whole war. That's still going on.
It's crazy. It was all over the place. Yeah.
It was unbelievable. I was reaching markets I never was in before. And, I was getting interviews. I was seeing myself in this one, that one, and I knew Nikki for a long time. They opened up for Ozzy. I was with Ozzy.
Yeah.
And Nikki lived around the corner from me. We used to go out for breakfast, and, I got his phone number, my email, his real name, and my phone, and I haven't talked to him in a while, but ever since they got big, they got a little stuffy,
Sure.
But now that'll come out now. Carmine says Nikki Sixx is stuffy, But that's the truth. So when he started that stuff, and he called me a has-been drummer, I said, "You fuck,"
Yeah.
What did you start? Give me something that you started in this industry. I could tell you a bunch of stuff I started, that's still going on. What did you start? But that's why I challenged him. And I never heard anything back because I was a has-been drummer, he says,
Well, I doubt you ever will.
Yeah, and, to tell those people that played on the Cactus album, right?
Yeah, exactly, 100%. I mean, there's how many guests are there? Do you know the actual number of guests?
25.
25. There's 25 incredibly well-known musicians who hold you and Cactus in very high regard. So
unbelievable.
Washed up drummer or anything, that's all horseshit.
Yeah, unbelievable. And I talked to Mick about it, sorry. And it's unbelievable, how he got messed up. He got screwed by them.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's been unbelievable. If you leave a band, you start the band, you still keep your percentage unless you don't want it.
100%. And I think most people are.
You're part of a corporation.
I think most people are really on his side, and they really did.
Yeah.
I love Mötley Crüe, but they definitely did him dirty on that one.
I mean, I dug a lot of this stuff. My favorite with them was the Dr. Feelgood,
Yeah.
That was, I think for me, that was their peak, And, but, after that whole thing happened, I know they were canceling gigs as nobody wanted to go to them. That's not coming from me, Nikki. That's on the internet, But, and then they got John Five. He's a great player, John Five. I would have liked to have him on this record.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal player. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great player, But, it's good. With this record, what was good about it, if you got a minute? I didn't know some of these people were into Cactus. Like Warren Haynes, for instance. I didn't know he was into Cactus. I didn't know... there's a few other ones. I think about it. Doug Aldrich and Malcolm Mendoza. You know, I didn't know Steve Stevens. I didn't know these guys were into Cactus.
So did you just already reach out to them anyways, just because you wanted them on the song, and that's how you found out?
That's why it was called Influences and Friends.
I gotcha. I see.
They were the friends that I reached out to, and then I realized, like Steve said, "Are you kidding me? I'm from Brooklyn. Of course I was into Cactus. I mean, Cactus was like the group, you know, from New York to listen to." I said, "Wow." And I know Paul Stanley and Gene used to listen to us. I know they went to a gig in Comac Arena with Cactus and Alice Cooper. You know,
oh, yeah,
and you know, so you know, it was amazing. You know, Cactus and Friends. You know, so it was mind blowing for me to hear some of these guys that were into it. You know.
Yeah, I need to. Like I said, I have the link to the album. I've only heard a couple tracks off of it, but I definitely going to check it out when we get off here. And
which ones did you hear?
I heard Evil was one of them, and I don't know. I don't remember the it was like whatever. I heard Evil, and then I guess whatever probably the first song on the.
The first song is Parchment Farm.
Oh, okay.
And that's the one that was the track that Van Halen listened to for Hot for Teacher.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It was you could say it was the template. Tempo wise, and a double bass drum part was the template for Hot for Teacher. Because when Hot for Teacher came out, it was like, wow, that's a different bass drum groove, right? That's a different drum groove. Right, but that groove I did in 1970.
Well, now I gotta have to go back. Now that I know that, I'm gonna have to go back and listen and see if I can
listen to it, and you'll hear what I'm talking about. You know.
And what was the Eruption one?
Which one? Eruption was Let Me Swim.
Let Me Swim. I'll have to check that out too. Well, make sure you check out the album Temple of Blues, Influences and Friends when it comes out on June 7th, and check Cactus out if they're coming on the road near you. You can get the dates at cactusrocks.net. Carmine, I really can't thank you enough for making this happen and spending so much time here, man. It was a pleasure.
Well, thank you. You know, it's with this Cactus record, it's easy to cut it down because there's so much to talk about just for the record. You know, and then you go off on other things and, forget it. You know, you got 55 years of history that we talk about, you know?
Well, yeah, like I said, we didn't even get to maybe not even half of what I wanted to get to. So definitely would love to have you back and go over the rest.
All right, let's do it again. And this time we'll just speak about the stuff you want to talk about.
For
sure.
Won't go off. For sure. No. Hey, that's, you know what, that makes for the best conversation though. So thank you so much again, man. Appreciate it.
Okay, brother. See ya.